gotta be putting the table down. I'll check that up a bit. Right there. Still gotta come up more.
Hang on to this.
Okay. Yeah. That's okay.
That's okay.
Yeah.
Good afternoon and welcome to our regular council meeting for February 18th, 2025. At this time, I'd like to acknowledge the traditional territories and the oral practices of the Blackfoot Nation, which include the Siksika, the Kainai, and the Piikani. We also acknowledge the Tsuut'ina, the Stoney Nakoda First Nations, the Métis Nation District 4, and all people who make their homes in the Treaty 7 region of southern Alberta. We're making this acknowledgement to demonstrate our continuing efforts to work together as we strive for reconciliation through increased and collective learning. And we'll start off the afternoon. We got a staff introduction. Manager of Recreation Services, Randy McPhillips. Randy.
Yeah, thank you. So I have Andre, or Andy Otero, here. He started with us January 6th as a full-time recreation operator 1. He's originally from Peru, but has lived in Brooks since 2010. And in his spare time, he enjoys spending time with his wife and walking his 2 dogs when it's not minus a million outside. He had actually worked for the recreation department when he was in high school years ago as a lifeguard and said he really enjoyed it. More recently worked at JBS Canada Foods before rejoining us at the recreation department. He's interested in learning more about the maintenance and operation of rec facilities and is well on his way to being an expert Zamboni operator.
Hey. And being from Peru there, Andy, I gather you're a big hockey fan, eh? And it warmed up today to minus 21. Yeah. Anyway, on behalf of council, welcome to the city of Brooks there. Yeah. Thank you. Okay, need a mover for this motion here that the agenda be adopted. Moved by Councillor Nesbitt. All those in favor? Hang on here. Somebody didn't turn their phone off. Okay, need a mover for this motion that the minutes from the regular council meeting held February 3rd, 2025 be approved. Mover for that motion, Councillor Wardrop. All those in favor? Carried. Need a mover for this motion that the January 2025 RCMP report be accepted as information. Mover for that motion, Councillor Juska. Okay, good afternoon.
Thank you, sir. My report today covers the month of January 2025. During that month, we responded to 344 calls for service in the city. A total of 28 prisoners were lodged in cells and 93 criminal record checks were completed. We issued 71 violation tickets in the city. Some miscellaneous investigations and events from January. On the 7th, we conducted some speed enforcement in school zones. Speeding has been identified as an issue with the current slippery road conditions. We want to keep pedestrians and children safe. So in just under 2 hours, officers issued 5 speeding tickets and 1 seatbelt violation. On January 16th, we were conducting patrols near Meadowbrook Green and located a stolen Dodge truck parked behind a residence. The vehicle was unoccupied at the time. It was reported stolen just a few days prior from Medicine Hat. We were able to recover the vehicle and get it back to the owner. From January 20th to the 24th, we took part in a provincial initiative, Operation Cold Start. We do this every year where we go around and we check unattended idling vehicles to ensure that the keys aren't left inside and that they're properly secured. We offer advice to owners or leave information pamphlets for people who choose to leave their vehicles running with the keys in them. While we did that, we found 13 vehicles idling and unlocked with the keys inside. Spoke to 20 vehicle owners and provided them with some helpful tips. So every year it gets better and better what we're finding out there, and ultimately we'd like those numbers to be 0 or pretty close to it, but it's been very cold over the last couple of weeks and we really haven't had an issue with stolen vehicles or anything, so that's good to see. And on January 30th, we had some help from Southern Alberta District Crime Reduction Unit, and we conducted a vehicle stop and then executed 2 search warrants on 2 separate residents as a result of a drug investigation. We did the vehicle stop in Sunny Lee and searched a residence on Maple Drive and Greenbrook Road and recovered a significant quantity of drugs in all 3 locations. We've laid charges against a 58-year-old female and a 37-year-old female, drug trafficking charges. And that is my report for the month of January, and I'd be happy to answer any questions or try to that you may have.
Okay, yeah, that's quite impressive that there was no car thefts or vehicle thefts in January, because I think last year, almost at this time, we were running into some major issues with vehicle thefts, not only here, but right across the country there. So that's pretty good on that there too. I have just a question. I don't know if it was on this one here, just with the bust of the cigarettes, whatever. There were no charges laid. Now, you don't have to tell me because you're investigating that. I was just kind of curious on why there were no charges laid at this point. And you can tell me that you're investigating and you'll give me details later if you want.
Yeah, I mean, I will say that, it's very early in that investigation and it is a pretty significant quantity. We have the cigarettes, which are the evidence. We have information. We're going to follow up with that, and we're not in any rush or time restraint to get a charge laid.
And I've heard about this before. Is this quite common, like where they're bringing in the cigarettes like that and then selling them? And I'm kind of curious because I don't know if you could sell them to any, do they sell them to stores or do they just sell them on the street privately?
I'm not aware of any.
And I'm not a smoker, by the way.
Yeah, I'm not aware of any being sold in any stores. If they are, that will obviously be a concern for us. But we are, my members are encountering them quite a bit on the street with people that we deal with. As for the quantity being shipped into Brooks, this is the first I've heard of it, and we were surprised that, we are right on the major highway, so a lot of stuff will come through Brooks, but I can't really say too much about it, but we are seeing, over the last year or so, an increase in, people showing up with a pack of cigarettes that would be illegal.
Yeah, okay. Any other questions? Councilor Nesbitt.
Yes, sir. I was wondering what type of drugs are being found. Is it mostly marijuana or cocaine or?
Yeah, so specific to our drug investigation, methamphetamine and cocaine. But, we're encountering everything.
Well, I was thinking fentanyl, because that's a big thing on the news now.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, in this particular seizure, I don't believe there was any fentanyl, and if there was, it wasn't a significant quantity, but we're running into fentanyl. It's a popular drug in Alberta and Canada, so we do run into it.
Okay. And also, I don't smoke, but I know that they have customers in Brooks.
Yeah, for sure.
Thank you.
Yeah, okay, any other questions? Councillor Goodenough.
This isn't a smoking question,
Okay.
but no, I'm just curious if you could give us a little update on the RCMP school that you guys ran here at the JBS Canada Centre, or is that for a later date?
It was for a later date, but
Oh,
I
sorry.
certainly can. It went really well this year. Again, we did it partnered with the schools. We ran it during school as opposed to in the summer, offered course credits, and we got some really positive feedback from the students that took part and the schools, parents. We're hoping to continue with this as long as we can, so.
You're talking about the Brooks Youth Police Academy then, yeah. And it is a credit course. For 1 week, I think the students get 3 credits if they complete the course. There were 20 that graduated out of that. 22 applied, but not all of them made it, but most of them did. And I know I was there for the presentation that day, and they gave some really good topics. They talked about human smuggling, or human trafficking, I think substance abuse, racism, and I forget what the other topic was off by hand on that, but it was really good, yeah. All good presentations. And all the presentations I thought were relevant to what's happening in our community there too, yeah. So, but a good course, and to me, when you talk about succession planning, whether it be for the community police officers or RCMP, whatever, I think it's a good program to do that there.
No, I look forward to the report, and I was just a little excited. Okay.
I would like to add, sorry, that Corporal McCready actually just last week or the week before attended Depot for the graduation of one of our first students in this program. She graduated from Depot, and I think I've told you guys about that before, but it's pretty exciting to see them develop and actually choose to go down this career path.
Okay, if there's no other questions, thanks for your time this afternoon.
Thank you.
Yeah, keep warm.
I'll try.
Okay, to the motion, all those in favor? Carried. Need a mover for this motion here, that the following items of correspondence be received as information updates on council conferences and workshops, council committee reports from Councillor Prentice, Councillor Jessica, and Councillor Nesbitt, and the council committee notes from January 28th, 2025. Mover for that motion, Councillor Nesbitt. And we'll start off with the council committee reports, and we'll go with Councillor Prentice there. Go ahead, Councillor Prentice. We can't hear you yet.
Yeah, can you hear it now?
Okay, we can hear you now, yeah.
Okay, thanks. Okay, thanks anyway. Well, the new landfill, the new Recycling Association's yearly grant of $292,500 was approved for the 2025 operation. And the new cell construction is over 95% completed. That was one that got started in the summer. And Bullen Construction will be turning in the spring to clean up the surrounding areas. And that pretty well covers all the work that was done to landfill this summer. Turned out really well. And there's 44,314 tons of contaminated soil were taken in from November to December. It's down quite a bit from the same period last year on that one. And 7,750 tons of contaminated been approved for disposal from November to January. And the contaminated soil, of course, is our best revenue, and there's still seems like there's going to be quite a bit coming. This is mostly oil field stuff. There's a big project in Calgary that is looking to haul the materials when they start their new arena, but they have to wait till they get some of the budget apparently. What's happening out there. And there's lots of customers per day there, so it's doing well. And Newell Recycling is getting the cardboard from Bizano hauled from Bizano to the Brooks Depot here. That was Barra, I think it was running the operation there before, and they closed down. So the landfill has a truck going up there to pick up their disposables on the dead haul. They're hauling that material back to Brooks, so the cardboard is coming in there, and it's a little bit will help a little bit for the revenue. It's been on it for several months now. And the cardboard prices, they're up really good now. They're $223 a ton for cardboard, and colored paper is $119 a ton. On newsprint, so $117. So this is really helping with the revenue, as the prices have been down pretty bad for quite a while. So it all looks good there. And then, of course, there's some other stuff coming up with the collection of stuff that will be brought up at a later date. So that's about all I got for now.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Prentice. Okay, Councillor Nesbitt.
Thank you, Your Honor. I'll start off with parks update. At the airport, the snow removal and sanding where needed is on a continual basis because we still do get planes landing there once in a while. Nothing to report at the cemetery except the fact they do plow the roads in there so people can go in there and see their loved ones. Nothing to report, obviously, in the flower beds and hanging baskets. Parks and green spaces, while the building and pathway checks are ongoing, garbage run and litter picking is still ongoing, and snow removal, sanding sidewalks and entryways is continual. Christmas decorations and lights were taken down for the year. Refurbishing of the decorations with new paint and new light strings will be ongoing for the next 3 years. Damaged garbage can in front of Canada Post was removed. The sign was transferred to a new can and assembled, ready to reinstall once the staff are available. Tree maintenance. Contractors are working on complaint, troubled trees for the city, as well as any boulevard elms that need to be raised up. Nothing to report on the mowing as of yet. Ice rinks, cleaning and flooding both rinks is ongoing, weather permitting. And I tell you what, they get good ice right now. Nets are on both ice rinks right now. Ice taps are done at Stafford Lake, and the skating area was made bigger as well as the skating track. So it's safer now to take a spin around the lake there. For the equipment, the unit number 330 is still at Brant and then being put back together with modified oil tube orientation to prevent wear. Brant has extended our warranty to begin when we have the units back. The same will be done with the unit number 329 once repairs are completed with it. Both brooms that have issues with the bearings and reels will also be covered by warranty. We are still using the Lona unit and unit 329 for clearing snow until we get both our units repaired and back fully operational. Netting is in for the quad diamonds at the Elks Field backstop and obviously will be installed in the spring. I'll leave the recreation report for Marissa at our next meeting. My next report is Newell Regional Services Corporation. At the end of 2024, NRSC produced a total revenue of $6,040,071, and this equates to 106.7% of our budgeted revenue. Overall, 2024 went well. Into consideration some concerns we had to start with the year. Rural water consumption is over budget, and we anticipate that is due to a new regional system, as well as operating for the county was over budget due to various repairs. Current total expenses of the year for 2024 are $4,612,567, and this equates to 104% of our total budgeted expenses. Our surplus at the end of 2024 is $1,427,503, and that equates to 113% of our budgeted surplus. All our expenses are falling reasonably in line with our budget, except for WTP contracted services and various county maintenance and repair accounts. Our investment portfolio, on September 30th, 2024, we held a portfolio balance of $8,519,833, and this includes a deposit of $1.4 million in January. As of November 30th, 2024, our portfolio held a balance of $8,513,456. Boy, I wish I was related to them. The water project for the County of Newell, Excalibur is still working to complete the work in the Mazzano area. Hopefully, they will complete the work in a timely manner. The idea is completed the 3-line lowering crossing projects that were scheduled, and there's no issues to report. At the plant, membrane replacement projects has been postponed until the week of February 3rd, 2025, which obviously has started. Continuing with the financial framework plan, we have increased the water rate by 5 cents per meter cube to $1.20 per meter cube. The purpose of this increase in rates is to maintain funds for future upgrades, replacement of membranes, and expansion. We have increased our budget of revenues by $341,461 when compared to our 2024 budget of revenues. I've increased our anticipated consumption in the rural area due to the new portion rural water system coming online in the town of Mazzano due to large volumes of water being sold through the bulk water station. All other revenue items are within reason compared to 2024. The proposed 2025 budget takes into account amortization, and this accounts for a total of $1,065,000. Although this is not cash out of the bank, we're still accounting for the replacement of the existing assets. Overall, we are proposing a new total expense budget of $4,661,430. The total increase in budgeted expenditures is $259,595 compared to our 2024 budget. We increased our contractor service for the water treatment plant, as those costs are increasing every year as our building and equipments age. Some expenditure accounts are up, some are down, but overall expense will stay consistent with the previous year and do not anticipate any changes that could adversely affect our financial position. We do anticipate some large projects with the county in 2025 that are not included in the budget, as well as raw water screen upgrades. We will ask for budget adjustments at that time when we have a better idea in timing and costs. We are also requesting an increase to the employee's individual health spending account and including funds for wellness spending as well. And that is my report.
Okay, any questions? Okay, Councillor Juska.
Thank you. So SAWA, the Southern Alberta Energy from Waste Association executive, was given direction to sign the Memorandum of Understanding with Global Green subject to a legal review. The review by Brownlee was completed with some suggestions which are being discussed with Global Green, and we'll be meeting on Thursday potentially to sign that MOU. The Recycling Council of Alberta is hosting a live debate on whether energy from waste is an acceptable waste reduction strategy. I'll be one of the 2 representatives speaking on behalf of Waste Energy, and Varma's Edmonton Mass Burned with Carbon Capture will have a representative as well. Eco Brooks, the display and environmental gift wrapping workshop in the JBS Centre had a good response again. The environmental art contest was also successful, with an artist reception held at the Brooks Public Library. So anyone interested can view the artworks on display above the library mezzanine. And this year's competition will be held in March to better align with school schedules. We're presently having a mural designed for a wrap to highlight the Palliser Airshed Monitoring Society air monitoring station by the East Ball Diamonds. And the 2024 water quality monitoring results for Stafford Lake were within guidelines, and planning is underway for reinstituting the edible garden for 2025. And for anyone that might be interested or have an idea, the 2025 Community Benefit Grant Program is accepting applications for environmental projects and activities, and details are on the website. Brooks and District Museum has had a busy time with Christmas and everything else. And the Corythosaurus upgraded project is complete, and funds are now being collected for a new heritage tractor building, including funds from fundraising activities and $10,000 from the Alice Cosford Trust. The museum now has $21,246 set aside for the project. The Brooks Connect Club has also donated $1,000 to the museum, but that was not dedicated to this particular project. And a UFA grant application for the building was not successful, but another has been applied for. With donations and in-kind contributions, the museum Christmas light display, which was bigger and better than ever, raised $7,364. And they were successful with an AMA, Alberta Museums Association, staffing grant application for $25,000. The opponents of the Pace Salt Flat Solar Project held a public meeting at the old Rodeo Grounds Kin building, and so I've been to all the presentations as well as this meeting. Approximately 35 were in attendance, including an Edmonton lawyer who has been working with groups opposing other similar projects. The main issues included property values assessments, appearance and setbacks, disturbance during installation and operation, reflected glare, guarantees that what is promised will be delivered is not delivered, and closure costs. I did speak with the lawyer who also raised a potential environmental contamination question and provided me with a related study paper as well as information on setbacks at some other projects. Most of these issues had come up at the open houses hosted by PACE, but I did go back to PACE with the concerns as they were voiced at this meeting, and they did respond to my questions.
Any questions for Councillor Juska? Okay, to the motion, all those in favor? Carried. Okay, this is a long motion here, but we'll get through it, yeah. And need a mover for this one, a long motion here, Councillor Idris. Okay, moves that council approve option 2 development permit application 25D11 with the following conditions. Development to conform to application, including any plans and drawings deemed complete by the development officer on February 3rd, 2025, and to land use bylaw 1412 unless otherwise approved by the development authority. Development must be completed in its entirety in accordance with approved plans and conditions. Any revisions to the approved plans must be submitted for approval to the development authority. The property owner developer is to repair or reinstate or pay for the repair or reinstatement to original condition of any city-owned infrastructure, including but not limited to street furniture, curbing, sidewalk, boulevard landscaping, and tree planting that may be damaged or destroyed or otherwise harmed by development and or building operations on the site. All repair or reinstatement work must be completed by a city-approved contractor. The property owner, developer must notify the city if they're going to have to destroy or replace any city-owned infrastructure. The applicant is to ensure that utility locates are completed prior to excavation. The applicant must abide by the requests and restrictions imposed by utility companies as a result of the above-mentioned utility locates. The applicant shall meet the requirements of Land Use Bylaw 1412, Section 64, grading, excavation, stripping, and stockpiling. And upon completion of backfilling, the lot grades must be returned to their original state. The applicant shall meet any provincial or federal regulations that apply, including but not limited to approval from the Natural Resources Conservation Board if required. Okay, Director of Planning, Tiffin, can get into this a little bit more here. Go ahead.
Thank you very much. Through the Chair to Mayor and Council, the City of Brooks has received a development permit application for a property that is zone direct control. And as such, Council is the development authority for consideration and decision upon this permit. The applicant is WSP Canada. They've been hired by Imperial Oil to complete some soil and groundwater analysis and to assess the potential for contamination as a result of a former use on the site. There are 2 lots that are included within the site plan. Neither have a specific address, so we can refer to them as Lot 1, which is a vacant lot owned by Imperial Oil, which was formerly utilized as a bulk petroleum plant and fertilizer facility, and Lot 18, which is owned by CPKC and is currently utilized for railroad use. Sampling requires utilizing a sonic or direct push drill rig to install groundwater wells between 7 and 12 meters below the ground surface. The groundwater wells will remain in place until the site is completely remediated, and after the soil sampling is completed and the groundwater wells are installed and then removed, boreholes will be immediately backfilled with clean material. A site plan is attached to show Council the location and setbacks of where these boreholes and monitoring wells will be. And CPKC has granted WSP Canada permission to conduct this testing on their land. So council has three options. The first is that they can deny development permit application 25D11. The second is that you can approve the development permit application with the conditions already read by the mayor. And the third option is to approve the development permit with any amendments to the conditions as you see fit. And staff at this time is recommending that council approve the development permit with the conditions that have been stated.
Okay, any questions? Councillor Woodruff.
Is all of this process going to affect the traffic going through Young Road?
Through the chair to Councillor Wardrop, to our knowledge, this work will all be done on site and it won't impact traffic on the street. They haven't asked for any traffic accommodations through Young Road, so they'll be accessing the site directly and doing all of the work there.
Thank you.
I don't know if you can tell, what are they exactly doing here then? I know they're doing the boring and whatever. What are the long-range plans?
Through the chair to Mayor Petrie, they haven't told us any long-range plans. They're essentially just looking to see what the soil contamination would be from previous activities on the land. So it's just environmental testing at this point.
Okay, makes sense there. Okay. Okay, Councillor Idris. Yeah.
So this is, this property is owned by the CP, like, it's their land, although they are leasing it, right?
Yes, through the chair to Councillor Idris, there's actually two parcels. One is owned by Imperial Oil still, and the other is owned by CPKC, and they're leasing it to Imperial Oil while this testing is going on.
Okay, just question for information. Being, like, I remember some of the discussion that we had last time when there was the development here by the credit union. So in terms of authority, is there anything that you can tell us there?
Yeah, through the chair to Councillor Idris, CPKC does not need to have development permits in place if the development that doing is for the purpose of conducting railroad operations. Because this is for a different purpose, it's for environmental testing, they do require this permit. And it's not necessarily their project, it's essentially Imperial Oil's project, so they have allowed and given permission to Imperial Oil to conduct this work on their land.
Thank you.
Okay. Councillor Jessica.
Yeah, just for your information, this is a continuation of some projects that have been ongoing for a number of years, and there already are a bunch of monitoring wells and have been a great number of test holes drilled there. So, you know, from my own experience in that industry, it's very unlikely that it's going to affect anything off-site.
Okay. To the motion, all those in favor? Carried. Okay, it's 5 o'clock and we have a public hearing. So this is in regards to bylaw 2508, amendment to land use bylaw 1412. I'd like to call the public hearing to order here. First of all, we'll get an explanation on the proposed bylaw with Gavin here. Go ahead, Gavin.
Good evening. Through the chair to Mayor and Council, this evening's public hearing is in regards to bylaw 2508, which proposes to redesignate Lot 1, Block 1, Plan 9512251 from residential single detached to residential medium density. As per the requirements of the Municipal Government Act, a public hearing must be held prior to the decision on a bylaw to rezone land. At the time of writing this report, no comments were received in favor or in opposition of the proposal. Subsequent to that, we have received a, what at the top of the document is cited as being a petition. Petitions aren't the right term, but we'll accept it as information, with a number of concerns written out on that submittal. The site context, this is a 0.36-acre residentially designated property. It sits on the south side of the intersection of 2nd Street East and Kellington Close East. It contains a 1940s era house, approximately 960 square feet in size. The property has an alley which makes it accessible on 3 sides. The adjacent neighborhood is predominantly single detached residential with some 2-unit attached housing located in Ludor Close East. The neighborhood also contains approximately 100 meters to the south, the Willowbrook property, which is a high-density development. This location is within walking distance of the school, shopping, and parks, and green space. These amenities make for good long-term success of multi-unit residential projects. In the planning context, this lot is located within the Northeast Sector Area Structure Plan. The focus of that plan is on undeveloped lands and does not address the redevelopment or infill of existing lots. The proposed rezoning complies with the following residential development objectives of the Municipal Development Plan. Number one, that a mix of housing densities and tenures is encouraged in new residential developments in order that a variety of housing choices are available. New developments should complement and connect with the existing built-up areas of the city. Infill development should be sensitive to the design, orientation, and massing of surrounding dwellings, and opportunities for infill development should be utilized to revitalize existing neighborhoods. The residential medium-density land use district is designed to accommodate up to 4 dwelling units as a permitted use and up to 8 dwelling units as a discretionary use. Now, the existing district, you could accommodate on this parcel up to 4 dwelling units already. Now, that would have to either be duplexes or single-family residential houses with suites. So under single detached, you could have a subdivision that goes through, splitting this in two separate houses, and secondary suites. Those are all permitted uses in the current district. So we're already at 4 units. The decision on the proposed rezoning should be evaluated based on the suitability of the land. A policy for a mixture of housing needs to be measured against the reality of an area that has thus far been single detached units. Financial implications, there are none to the City of Brooks for this redesignation. And in your strategic plan, this change is loosely connected to council focus on economic growth, affordable housing, and investment attraction, as well as future developments. This evening's recommendation is to complete second and third reading.
Okay, thank you. Okay, person speaking in favor of the proposed bylaw. Mr. Elmer, are you going to, well, you'll have to come forward, state your name if you're going to speak. You can't speak from that back there. You have to come to the table here. You don't have to, you don't have to come forward, but if you are speaking, you have to come talk in the mic.
Okay. I have a clarification question.
Just sit down and state your name.
Don Elmer. I'm the owner of this property, actually. So I have a clarification of this question for you. Does the owner or the developer responsible for the utilities and curbs and all that kind of stuff that you're talking about? Is it the owner that's kind of responsible for that stuff, or is it the developer that buys it?
I'm going to pass that back to Gavin there.
Who's Gavin? Oh, there's my buddy there.
Through the chair to Mayor and Council, in regards to the question, development processes, when you go to get your development permit, that's when these things are dealt with. So servicing can be dealt with by the landowner at any time, or it could be left to the developer at a future date. Quite often we try to capture these in a development agreement, say at the time of subdivision or with the development approval itself.
Okay. Does that answer your question, Mr. Elmer?
She was telling me about this thing.
Yeah,
here.
just
real quick.
Simply the developer, if you were to sell it, could be tasked to do the services themselves.
Right, that's what I thought. Yeah, or else you'd never get nothing done.
Okay. And
why would I take that chance?
Yeah. Anything else?
Nope, nothing. It's good.
Yeah, and you're speaking for the development since you own the land, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thanks, John.
Anybody else speaking in favor of the proposed bylaw? I see none. Any person speaking in opposition of the proposed bylaw? If you want to come, Mrs. Cranky, if you want to come forward here. Yours was the first name on the list.
Thank you. I've lived in the neighborhood quite a while. I was the one that took the petition around to the neighborhood because it's been so cold and we haven't had a lot of time to look at this. We have 2 neighbors that are deceased in our crescent, and we have a couple on holidays, or there would have been a lot more names on that petition. We already have the multifamily housing in our area, one being Willowbrook Estates, which has 2 managers and is kept up fairly well. This property hasn't been kept up. It's been an eyesore. I haven't talked to a person who doesn't want to see something happening there. But everybody was of the opinion that we'd like to see a single-family dwelling, or at the very most, a duplex put on the property. That whole side of the alley on that side does not have back alley access, and that's the way we'd like to keep it, because it's an increase of traffic. Right now in Kellington Close, we're having a problem at certain times of the year with parking, with overflow from 2nd Street or other things, and we just don't feel that we want extra cars that a 4-plex or an 8-plex is going to bring. The other thing, I guess it was bothering people, was no one will discuss whether there'll be back alley access prior to the change in designation. And this probably isn't the place to bring it up, but I heard you talking about what people have to do to develop. Originally, I was not an owner in Kellington Close, but I moved there sometime later. And there is a strip along Mr. Elmer's property that a bond was taken from the developer, is what I was told. And he was to put it back into the original condition. And the city gave him the bond back. He did not do that, and the city did not do that. Since then, there's a bunch of scrub trees on there. The Parks Department and the fire chief had told me that there are trees that are sitting on there and causing me a lot of work are too close to the fire hydrant. So I have concerns about the fire hydrant. And I have concerns about anybody else coming into doing development and then it not being followed up properly. Because it's been there for a long time and no one's done anything about it.
Maybe Gavin, what about, she talks about the back alley access, and I don't know what your issue is there. Maybe explain it to us again.
None of the other houses on that side of the alley have back alley access. They all have front alley access, and that's the way we would prefer to keep it, because it puts more people down that alley, and that alley is getting enough traffic being used as a shortcut so they don't have to go through the stop sign, which is off-center from another street, so they take the back alley instead. And I don't think, one of the deceased people from our crescent lives directly across the street. Pretty sure she's not going to get the value, the heirs won't get the value of that house if a fourplex is put on there. And neither will the other house, and they both sold for the one is up for sale, but the other one just sold, and it was not cheap. So I think it would affect our property values. And if you're talking about a mixture of houses in the neighborhood part, there's a mixture already. I mean, I don't know of anybody that's got a whole street of single-family dwellings that then wants to have a fourplex or an eightplex put on the end of it. So.
Okay, just a couple things. On property values, there's no concrete evidence that property values will decrease, not unless you have some.
There's not concrete evidence.
No, there's no concrete
evidence.
evidence.
But if you owned a house
in fact,
across,
it could be the opposite, where values could increase.
I don't think so.
Well, no,
but I mean, that's
yeah,
a matter of opinion, but.
Exactly. So my point is, there's no substantive claim that property values will
No,
be
so we're just
reduced.
stating it as an opinion.
Absolutely none, and there's no substantive evidence that property values will increase either there, too. Now, with parking, This, if this is approved today, and then it would have to go through MPC, and MPC also has rules in place for parking on, you know, what is established there. So there are rules in place there for parking there. So
But
anyway,
that's, but that's after the fact, like after you change the designation. Like right now, you won't put this through and say, we're going to do this even if you don't like it, but we will not have back alley access.
Yeah, I don't, yeah, I can't answer you there in the
Yeah.
back alley access, and I just want to point out too, because we go through a lot of development, back alleys are for everybody in Brooks, not just the resident that is next to the back alley there too. So back alleys are for everybody and not just for the individual. No different than in my back alley, it's for everybody. I don't own that, whatever.
No,
but
you don't
yeah,
own
no,
it, but
no,
if
I
your
agree
back
with-
alleys, if everybody has front alley access,
yeah.
then
Yeah. Okay.
it just doesn't,
Okay. What would
make
you
much
like to
sense.
see there?
pardon me?
What would you like to see there?
I would love to see either a single-family dwelling or a duplex that is not rented, that somebody has a stake in and somebody takes care of. Because right now, this fall, I took off 19 bags of leaves and debris, a lot of that mulch, because it was taking out my back. And it's constantly like that. We have a fire pit, which is attached to it. And you wake up after the bar is closed and there's fire coming over top of the fence, and then it's finally under control. And it's just, there's been nothing good about it. And then when I've tried to take care of the property, I called Parks in and the fire chief to say, look, this is a mess. You can't come around the corner, you're going to hit a kid because the bush is blocking it and whatever. And they said, go ahead and take care of it. But it's a lot of work. I shouldn't have to do it. And when I do it, the guy that's renting it, who has his bin out, who does not do anything, then says to me, I'll shorten it, leave my effing can alone. So that's what, we would all love to see that changed. But we don't want four more of what we're dealing with now.
Okay. Anything else?
Nope.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Skrinky. Anybody else speaking against the proposed bylaw? No, you come to the, because the microphone there, state your name.
Sorry about this, my first time at the meeting, so.
Okay.
My name is Pierre Emiard. I'm a resident of 704, 4 hours down, on the same alley. My concern is the bylaw itself. If you change the bylaw, that means everybody on that street is gonna be able to do whatever they, build whatever they can, like a 4-plex, 8-plex on that street. Is that what I'm understanding? If you change the bylaws.
I know, yeah, no, I'm listening. I'm just
Is
listening.
that what's
Yeah,
gonna
yeah, yeah,
happen?
yeah.
Is that gonna be
Yeah,
for
yeah.
everybody, or is that just for this house?
Yeah.
That is a question.
I believe we're just talking about this one property at this point here. That's all we're talking about at this point.
Just the one property?
Yeah, that's what we're talking about. That's what this public hearing is about, just this
Okay,
property.
well, I'm against it.
Okay.
I'm okay with a duplex, but I don't want to have 8 family living in that corner.
Okay. Any other concerns?
Yeah, overcrowded for that corner, and parking area, and it's a small lot, and that's my point.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anybody else speaking in opposition of the bylaw? Come to the table there, please. State your name.
My name is Sandy Hislop. Do you hear me okay?
Yeah, Ken, yeah.
Mr. Mayor,
Oh, just wait, and just a point of order, just your address too, and
Oh,
your.
I'm directly across from this property at 715 2nd Street East.
Okay. Go ahead.
So, Mr. Mayor and fellow councillors of our city, you work very hard, and I recognize that, and it's never an easy task. I have, about 4 concerns regarding this property. 2nd East is a very busy street. We have so much traffic now, it becomes a alternate corridor from 2nd West, our main street. The traffic is unbelievable, and so many people speed. The little motorcyclists in the summertime love to race up and down. It's very, very dangerous. I keep an eye on the children who walk up from the schools to their homes. They like to jostle around and often fall out onto the streets. It's so dangerous. There is not a sidewalk on the other side. Sometimes they're dashing back and forth. I hold my breath each time. Their school buses also travel up and down. There's a JBS bus that stops at Garrow and 2nd East, and it goes north. I've seen several school buses on that route back and forth. I'm concerned for the children's safety on those buses. If the density is increased on that street, I am concerned of parking like everybody else. One example is the house next door on the south side is a single dwelling, but they have many cars coming and going, and it's right next to it. So that will complicate it further if the extra parking has to go into place. And how about the sidewalk? With no sidewalk on that side, somebody is going to have to pay for a sidewalk, and it must go around all the way around the property, and then obviously down the street. You can't have it just piece of it. This is on the lighter side. I believe the wildlife in our city is very important. There are deer that stay in that area on that lot. Well, it's not the landowner's responsibility. I believe that it is important for our community to recognize the wildlife that supports us and is part of our ecosystem. The wonderful part is it makes us a community. We all watch out for the deer and make sure they're safe from the traffic. And it has become a wonderful way to connect with the new Canadians. They're amazed by our deer and will often stop to talk to us. It helps to integrate us rather than just them and us. Even when I've been at the JBS Center, there have been people talking about it. Some Mexicans thought they were just so beautiful. On this property, there are deer that rest there in the cold and in the heat, and they have been known to have their babies there. It's a safe place away from everything. I think in many ways we are responsible for that. Regarding this property, we need forward thinking. Are we going to turn our city into a hodgepodge? We can't have one bylaw okay for one piece of property without thinking how this is going to change the look of Brooks. Will it open the floodgates? Will somebody here or somebody there ask for a bylaw change so that they can build on their property? Something that's really not conducive to the area. How are we going to handle infrastructure, the roads, the traffic, if that is allowed to be a medium and then others around become medium? We need to think ahead of how it's going to work. So I ask you to take a handle on this. Look ahead and see if we need to plan things better. Are we just going to hand out these bylaw changes without thinking about the future? Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, anybody else speaking in opposition of the bylaw? Okay, got it, yeah. Yeah, we'll come to the table, yeah. State your name and your address, please.
Penny Bannister and 723 2nd Street East. Yeah. So I guess a lot of the same issues, I guess, our concerns are for my husband and I. We feel that the area that that Donnie wants to have changed is too small, we feel, for what he would like to put in there, or what they're thinking of putting in. Parking is an issue. That's the biggest issue that we feel, because we're directly across the road from them, that we can see a little bit into the cul-de-sac and onto his property. And there's already houses that are next to this property that park in the cul-de-sac because there isn't room on the front street, because it is, like Sandy said, such a busy street. The cul-de-sac, the road going into the cul-de-sac seems to be narrow as it is, and there's issues coming in and out as well. I guess the concern for us is that, like, I agree with the 2 single-family homes putting in or a duplex, but Willowbrook is just down the street, and they constantly have a vacancy sign out, so I can't see that this would be an issue for a, lack of rental space that we need to think more than like a 4 or an 8-plex. That just seems too much, I think. Yeah, so I just hope that as a city council, you guys listen to our concerns, that it's too small of an area for the density that they would like to plan.
Okay, thank you very much. Mr. Levesque, if you want to come forward. State your full name and address, please.
Paul Levesque, 16 Kellington Close, East. I have a few concerns, but I love to read that because my home will change a bit. I've been in Kellington for 30 years, my wife and I. Very quiet little area. We don't have a lot of people coming in and out, and it's quite nice since I left my garage door open last week and nothing was taken out of there. But I am concerned with what you're going to put in. I don't want any more vehicles than need to be. I don't think we should have any difference coming. We should be coming off the main street. But if we do a duplex, we got 4 extra vehicles, unless they have teenagers, and we know what's going to happen. If we go in 8, but we don't know what's going in there. You haven't said, or we haven't heard how high it's going to be, what's going to happen. But we can have a lot more vehicles in that area. Just parking. Right now, we have people that park in the street going into Kellington. So I'm concerned about that. I'm concerned about the look. And that's probably my wife looking for me.
She's over there.
I know.
She said,
I have many.
Supper's ready. She said supper's ready.
So I am concerned. I am concerned that we could do it. I would love to see a nice big house in there. I know one of the neighbors wanted to buy, would have loved to have bought that property. But to me, it's going to change the face of that area. You know, it's the vitalization, I know, with what he said, a nice little duplex coming off the main 2nd Street, a single family dwelling would be just really good. As for anybody that thinks that we're close to schools, kids don't walk anymore. They take buses. So there's a bunch of things that, you know, we don't need to be focused on. But traffic and the looks, I'm worried about that. And thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Any questions?
Nope.
Darn.
Anybody else speaking in opposition of the proposed bylaw? Go ahead there, Lori. State your name and address.
Hi, I'm Lori Okiyama. I'm at 727 2nd Street East, just across the street as well. I'm here for myself as well as for my mom. We've lived, like, my dad actually built the house that's actually there from 1962. Same with Penny Ann's dad. And we've seen the development of the community going from the chicken farms and some acreages and the apple orchards changing, which has been great as well. My concern is a couple things. One is really when we're talking about the traffic. So depending on how many people or how many different multi-housing is actually there really isn't a whole lot of street parking. And I think even right now, like the neighbors in Kellington are talking about how if people are actually parked on both sides, it's really quite restricted. And what really concerns me is that it even makes it a whole lot more narrow and cause a concern for emergency vehicles to actually go in if they need to go into that area as well. you know that Second Street East is a highly traffic road. What is it, like the secondary one or whatever? We kind of get the plows coming through afterwards type of thing. And, you know, yes, so there is a lot of traffic currently on there. I guess I'm just really concerned about with what it would be like with the parking, and then therefore lack of being able to see coming across. With, again, with the kids, we have lots of neighbors with little kids, and I have a concern about what that would be like as well.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, anybody else speaking in opposition of the proposed bylaw? Okay, that's it. Okay, some final comments then, Gavin? Oh, just, you know what, and I'll give Mr. Elmer, if you want to come to the table here, I'll give him a rebuttal. I don't know, I might be breaking some rules here, there too, but I will for you. Go ahead.
First thing I have is, I'd like to know from, is this on? I'd like to know from the councillors, can you show me in Brooks, there are 3 examples or builds of a medium density? Show me 3 examples.
Well, yeah,
Hello?
I'll pass that along to our planning or Gavin, whatever.
Because
yeah.
I'll give you 3 examples myself right now. Is if you go by the tennis courts, by the Catholic school there, Rick Schuett, I believe, or maybe Reinhold, I'm not sure, but I think it's Rick. They're well-known builders from Brooks for 40 years or whatever, do a great job. You go look at their builds across from the tennis courts at the Catholic school. They're beautiful. And they're not, you know, they're nice. They fit in, and they're within residential areas and stuff. What kind of builds are they? There's a 4-door build there, and they rent them out. He also built around the corner a little bit, another 4 doors, but I believe he sold them, like outright. And then if you go around the other corner on the other street, I believe it's a 4-plex or 6-plex. It looks pretty high. I don't really like it, but you know, it's a 4 or 6-plex, eh? And they're fitting right in there. What's the difference?
Okay, no, thanks for your point.
And then
I'm not gonna,
I just want to say one more thing, John. I'm going to say to the people here, you know what your alternative is going to be? Is I'm going to put up a real estate sign up there for people that can do residential, and they might go in there and live in that place for the next 40 years. It could be worse.
okay.
And another thing I'll say is I'll have no hard feelings against anybody because I know all these people.
Okay, thank you. Okay. You know, we'll wait until we get to the, actually the motion, and then we can, or can. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, Councilor Wardrop, yeah.
For me?
Yes, Mr. Elmer, thank you.
Yeah.
My question was, so under the current bylaw, and Gavin can correct me if I'm wrong, so under the current bylaw, you would be able to subdivide the property, because it is a double lot, so you'd basically go back into the size of the single lots, which would be like even slightly larger, maybe comparable to the lots 18 and 17, which would be just on the other side of the entrance of Killington Close. So you could subdivide that and put a duplex on each lot. Is that correct? And then I'll get to
The
my question.
duplex is considered
A single
discretionary,
detached.
so there still would be the question whether or not they can get the parking. That process always goes through the MPC for a decision. The other side of the coin is that as permitted uses, you have single detached housing and a secondary suite as permitted uses.
So already as it stands, Mr. Elmer could subdivide and put 2 single detached houses with secondary suites underneath. And it would go to MPC, and as long as it was.
I'm just going to clarify something. I'm not going to be the one developing. I'm selling it outright. And I got 2 developers and a builder, a local builder in town that's interested.
Is that, okay, so I guess you couldn't answer my question directly, but that to me sounds like quite a bit to develop on that property anyway, so, but, sorry, apologies.
Like if you look at Schuett's there, eh? 2 out of his 3 builds, they come from the back lane. That 6-plex or 4-plex, they're coming from the back lane and the front. That other one that they actually sold outright with the 4 doors, if you go by where the, I think it's GMC or whatever, you look at that back lane there, they're coming in from there, and they're like cement pads, nice garages. You don't even know they're there. It's very nice.
Thank you.
I guess that's about all I
Thank you,
have
Mr. Elmer, yeah.
You need me to say anything else,
Okay,
Ken?
Councillor Idris, yeah. Yeah. Turn on your mic there, yeah.
Like following up on Marissa's, and on the descriptions of the units that I'm hearing, this could go to MPC, and MPC could approve it if it meets all the requirements of MPC. So it could be done.
Yeah.
Even within the current.
Yeah, within the current bylaw, right, Gavin? Like, yeah.
Yeah, through the chair to Mayor Petrie. Part of the question here is the style of building that is being sought. In the single detached district, you couldn't put a row house in there. So 4 units, as he speaks of these other examples, that's the type of build he wants to do, which he can't do in this district. He needs the medium density to get that row type feeling.
Okay. Yeah, okay, anyway, we'll go back to, your final comments then. Yeah, go ahead there.
Yeah, through the chair to Mayor Petrie. Again, I did touch on most of these items. A lot of the questions this evening have to do with the application process during what would be dealt with by Development Authority staff and or the MPC. This evening, you have to consider whether or not the medium density district is correct for this location, and with that are all the options that are available in the district up to the 8 units. It is always my final word that I tell you that you just can't parse off a portion of it and hope that that's going to happen. I think it was illustrated this evening that there is concern for the upper end of this district of what it could be. There is also the idea that it would be quite difficult to meet the parking for 8 units on this property. It is not the biggest property. The parking requirements would put it closer to a dozen, if not 16, depending on the number of bedrooms. And that's a lot of parking to try to fit on here. So again, those things weigh through the development process. But ultimately, your decision is based on whether this is the right decision this evening for this property.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, so what we'll do, we'll adjourn the hearing. We do have a vote on it a little bit later there. So I'm going to adjourn this hearing here. Everybody had a chance to speak theirs, so I'll adjourn this hearing at 5:35 there. Thank you very much, and we will vote on it later in the council meeting here too. So back to our regular council meeting, and I need to move it for this motion here that council approve the county and Newell as the managing partner of the Brooks Newell Hydrogen Hub initiative to allow them to independently manage and implement the project as necessary on behalf of the Brooks Newell region, and that a letter be sent to the county and Newell indicating council's approval. Economic Development Officer Iwasa.
Thank you, Mayor Petrie. The request for decision before you today is regarding the Brooks Newell Hydrogen Hub project that Council has previously provided their support for back in March of 2024. Over the past 11 months, the project team has been led by Lane Johnson, Director of Corporate Services from the County of Newell, along with representatives from IEPS and myself representing the Brooks Newell region. During this time, we've had dozens of meetings, planning sessions, and the exchange of hundreds of emails with a wide range of stakeholders in the hydrogen sector. These include all levels of government, industry associations, technology providers, post-secondary institutions, and local businesses. The information we have gathered has allowed us to identify the challenges and opportunities available to furthering a viable hydrogen economy. Our goal has been to determine if there is a reasonable way forward for the Brooks Newell region to become a focal point for the early adoption of hydrogen as a practical and sustainable energy alternative, and to help drive innovative economic diversification in our region. The conclusion we have come to is that there is a clear path forward for us to meet the goal. Throughout this process, the County of Newell has taken the administrative lead on behalf of the entire region. Now, we are looking to move into the operational phase of the project. And this will require the Brooks Newell Hydrogen Hub to seek external funding, make partnership agreements, and begin operations within the region. To do this, we feel that providing the County of Newell with the autonomy to act independently on behalf of the Brooks Newell region and to make the appropriate decisions for the project will be the most efficient and practical solution. Therefore, the recommendation that staff is making is that Council approve the County of Newell as the managing partner of the Brooks Newell Hydrogen Hub initiative to allow them to independently manage and implement the project as necessary on behalf of the Brooks Newell region, and that a letter be sent to the County of Newell indicating Council's approval.
Okay. Any questions? Councillor Goodenough.
Thank you. I'm just curious, under your strategic plan, just says 50% funding partner. What kind of amount are we looking at as 50% funding partner?
So the 50%, through the mayor to Councillor Indris, the 50%.
Not good enough, but whatever.
Yeah. Or, sorry. You look similar, sorry. Sorry, to Councillor Goodenough. The 50% funding partner refers to the funding that the City of Brooks provides to the Brooks Newell region and our overall strategic plan. The actual monetary implications with regard to the project at this point in time there are no monetary requirements of the City of Brooks. There would be perhaps there would be requests of in-kind contributions from the city, and that would either be handled through our current budget of Brooks Newell Region and the Economic Development Department, and or a separate RFD to council if there were additional requests. So essentially, yeah, no funding at this point in time.
So my second question though is then possibility of vehicles being converted. Is there an estimate on what a vehicle conversion kit would cost?
Sure. Through the mayor to Councillor Goodenough. Yeah, there are costs involved with the conversion, but that is part of what the funding of the project outside of the external funding would cover those costs. They'll vary anywhere from $75,000 to around $100,000. Also, the cost of the project would be covered for the fueling as well, too. In discussion with Director Sari, it doesn't really sound like the City of Brooks has vehicles that would be appropriate at this point in time. So the chances are that any vehicles that would be provided municipally would be from the County of Newell.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, to the motion, all those in favor? Carried. Need a mover for this motion here that council approve the submission of the expression of interest to the Government of Alberta to co-host the Seniors Week provincial launch event. Mover for that motion, Councillor Nesbitt. Okay, Inclusion Coordinator Clausen.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm here today to request your support in submitting a letter of interest for the Government of Alberta Senior Week co-host opportunity. If selected, the City of Brooks will receive a $5,000 grant to help offset the costs for our Seniors Week celebrations. This funding will allow us to enhance our our offerings and further recognize the contributions of seniors in our community. The deadline to submit the letter of interest is February 21st, and a letter of support from the mayor is required as part of the application. Brooks has a strong history of hosting successful Seniors Week events, and this opportunity would further highlight our commitment to celebrating and supporting seniors. Therefore, I am asking approval to proceed with this submission, ensuring that we maximize the resources available to provide a meaningful and inclusive event.
Okay, any questions? Just Seniors Week is the first week in June, right? I was trying to look through the notes here, right?
Through the chair to Mayor Petrie, yes, that's correct.
Okay, thank you, yeah. I think a good initiative there, too. All those in favor? Carried. Thank you. Okay, need a mover for this motion here that the request for decision, receipt of public comments regarding the sale of land at less than market value be accepted as information here. I need a mover for the motion, Councillor Jessica, and Director of Planning and Community Development, Tiffin.
Thank you very much. Through the chair to mayor and council, a land sale proposal was received to purchase 2 city-owned lots that are located in the southeast sector. The lots are civic addressed 1716 and 1720 2nd Avenue East, and both of them are zoned residential high density. The proposal is below market value, as was determined by an appraisal which was performed on January 6, 2025. So because the proposal is for below market value, the proposal needed to be advertised for 2 consecutive weeks pursuant to the Municipal Government Act. And as part of the advertising process, the City of Brooks must provide an opportunity for residents to submit comments or speak during the council meeting when the proposal is being considered. As of the time of writing this report and today, no comments have been submitted to staff in regards to this sale proposal, and no requests to speak during the meeting have been received. But members of the public may still attend this meeting and choose to speak, at which time council will hear from them. So as of now, since I don't see any members of the public present to speak on this subject, council can consider the land sale proposal during their closed session. And if council does choose to approve a resolution to accept the offer, it can still be petitioned under the MGA. The details on what a petition looks like, the 60-day petition period, and the what would be required to create a legal petition was included in the public notice, which was part of the advertisement shared on the city's website, social media pages, and the newspaper. So at this time, unless there are any members of the public here to speak, that since no members of the public have submitted comments, council will consider the sale of lands at less than market value during closed session.
Okay, any questions? Okay, to the motion, all those in favor? Carried. Need a mover for this motion here that the outstanding property taxes uncollectible from the province of Alberta in the amount of $12,223.82 be written off. Rule number 043-024-7400. Director of Finance, McKinnon.
Through your worship, the report is to deal with an outstanding policy issue of the provincial government where on the assessment roll, they're assessed at the market value for their properties, but as indicated in approximately 4 years ago, the province has indicated to all municipalities in the province they'll only reimburse up to 50% of that amount. That being said, administration does not have the authority to write off taxes. Council is the only one that has that authority, so the report is before you today to consider that. In addition to this initiative, I've also detailed in the report additional funding reductions the province has made over the last few years. And again, this is part of the overall downloading on municipalities. Again, for Brooks, it's a relatively small amount compared to other municipalities. Provincial-wide, it's close to $60 million that is not being collected by municipalities to fund services. So I'd be pleased to entertain any questions.
What happens if we turn down the motion? What are our chances of getting the 12,000 back? I'm being facetious here.
The implications of considering and proceeding, the mayor would likely get a motion, a nice letter from the province saying we're withholding your other funding sources.
Yeah. And as you point out, compared to other municipalities, I think this is the only provincial building we have in the municipality in the city of Brooks there too. So unlike Edmonton that has the legislative buildings and a lot of other government buildings too.
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah, and to be clear too, schools do not pay taxes either. So yeah. Okay. Any other questions on this one here? Okay, to the motion, all those in favor? Carried. Okay, need a mover for this motion here that council approve of applying for funding through the Active Transportation Fund for the Lake Stafford Pathway Lighting Project. And, this one, Bryce McKinnon.
Yes, good evening. Through the chair to council, at the January 30th, 2025 Outdoors Committee meeting, it was recommended to proceed with the Lake Stafford Pathway Lighting Project. Administration has reviewed potential grant funding for this project and have found the Active Transportation Fund might be a viable option for this project. Therefore, administration is bringing this forward and recommending that council approve applying for grant funding through the Active Transportation Fund for the Lake Stafford Pathway Lighting Project. I'm available for any questions.
Okay, any questions on this one here? We talked about this at council committee there, and as I mentioned before, I think, as I've said, I'll reiterate again that, the city of Brooks does put a lot of money into their pathways. We have a good pathway system here, and the thing about the lights, we're able to use those pathways in the evening after 4:30 in the wintertime, before 8:30 in the morning there, as maybe, I think there was another councillor here for 6 months of the year where you use these pathways here. Secondly, the lights add security to the area there. And thirdly, I think aesthetically, they would look very nice around the pathway for the 3 million or so cars that go by the Trans-Canada every day. Obviously not in the daylight or in the evening, whatever, but I think it would be pretty good. So any other questions on that one there? Okay, to the motion, all those in favor? Carried. Okay. Need a mover for this motion here. The council approved the donation of the field house rental to the Talata basketball program up to the value of $1,800, and the amount be funded by the grants to organizations general ledger account. And from recreation there, Randy McPhillips.
Thank you. Through the chair to mayor and council. A grant fee waiver application was received by Talata Basketball requesting the donation of the field house for July 22nd to 24th, 2025 to run a basketball camp. Additionally, a request was made for a donation of lunch from PD's restaurant for the 3 days valued at $500. The purpose of Talata Basketball, as they stated in their application form, is to offer a transformative basketball camp experience for the youth of Brooks by providing expert coaching, skill development sessions, and mentorship opportunities. Empowerment would be had on and off the court. There are other organizations that offer various sport camps out of the JBS Canada Centre. Some of the camps have registration fees for the participants to cover costs, and some camps operate under existing agreements that have a reduction in facility rental costs. The donation of facility space could result in lost potential revenue from other bookings and or spontaneous use. We looked back at those same dates the past 2 years, and there was 1 booking in 2024 and no bookings in 2023. So the greatest impact would be to the open gym hours and spontaneous use. The amount requested in the application is $1,800, which equates to approximately 8 hours per day at the 2024-25 full field house youth hourly rate. The funding for lunch would be a monetary donation, as PD's is privately owned and operated. Currently, there is $4,000 unallocated in the grants to organizations general ledger account. On November 4th, 2024, council approved the donation of up to 60 youth recreation passes per tournament hosted by the Brooks Minor Hockey Association for the 2024-25, 25-26, and 26-27 seasons, and further that the value of the donations be funded by the grants to organizations general ledger account. The costs of the approved donation for the Brooks Minor Hockey Association passes will not be determined until the end of this year, so December 31st, 2025. Staff recommends that council approve the donation of the fieldhouse rental for the Talata basketball program up to a value of $1,800, and that the amount be funded by the grants to organizations general ledger account.
Okay, any questions on this one? Okay, and I do need a mover for the motion there. So Councillor Goodenough, you want to make the, okay, yeah, okay. Yeah, go ahead, yeah.
To Manager McPhillips. Okay, my question is this. Is that, it's $1,800, is that what the rental fee is for it? Or are we also on top then donating $500 for PD's food on top?
Through the chair to Councillor Goodenough, that would just be the facility rental cost, so that does not include the $500 for lunch.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, to the motion, all those in favor? Carried. Okay, need a mover for this motion here, that bylaw number 2508 be read a second time, and this is what the hearing was about. A mover for this motion here, Councillor Wardrobe. Yeah. Okay. Do you have anything else to say, Gavin, on this one? Okay, I'll open it up to council here now too. So it's been read a second time. So any questions on this one? Go ahead, Councillor Wardrop.
It was mentioned about the type of how.
Yeah, this is 2508, and this is that, yeah.
Sorry. It was mentioned the type of housing that's potentially, like the developer wants to put there. Could you speak to that again, Gavin? What's looking to be developed there?
Yeah, through the chair to Mayor, or sorry, Councillor Wardrop.
Not yet.
We've got a whole bunch of names stuff happening.
Yeah. You guys stayed the same. It was just me. Sorry. The question is the way I understand it is that the purchaser is looking for a different style of building rather than what's in the current district. We've not seen plans, nor should we consider those plans if they were indeed presented. The question was asked if they could. I did encourage them to come and actually present a plan, but that wouldn't be held as being what would be built. It would just be an idea.
Right.
Of course, the development authority would have to deal with what comes forward, should something come forward at a later date.
Mm-hmm. I do have another question, and anyone can answer this for me. I was curious about the maybe it was unclear to me about the concerns about the alley access. I'm not really sure what that has to do with increasing the density there. Or I'm not really sure what that was
Through
about.
the chair to Councillor Wardrop, the mayor did address that, I think appropriately, that alleys and streets are public. The use of those are generally up to the development authority to give them access. We've dealt with many considerations for alleys. At times, subdivisions and development are developed without taking access, and that's their choice, right? In this case, I think there are multiple properties that don't choose to take access. It's not that they couldn't or that they don't in future have that option. The question here would be is if that development process came forward and it was better to take some access off the alley, I think that would have to be considered.
Lisa, go ahead. Yeah.
Through the chair to Councillor Wardrop, just to add on to that, is that the houses along 2nd Street East right now, they have like walking access to the back alley, but they don't have vehicle access to and from that back alley. So there's no parking that is done off of that back alley. And I think that was the concern from the resident, is that if this rezoning were to go through, parking could potentially be off the back alley, whereas none of the other houses on 2nd Street East have access off the back alley. Only the homes on Kellington Close right now have vehicular access from the back alley.
Okay, Councillor Goodenough?
But to Gavin's point, at any time, a resident could request or remove their fence and decide to pull in their trailer, their mobile unit. I noticed on Google Maps there is no on-street parking on 2nd Street already. So I would be curious that we would continue that way of thinking, that there wouldn't be a sidewalk put in, because there isn't already one. So we wouldn't all of a sudden decide that there would be a sidewalk. So they would have actually. The front of that residence would have off-street parking, because that is already the practice on that street. I think that, although I want to respect the thoughts of people that living Kellington Close, I think though this is a good opportunity for development, and it's always needed, new housing, and I would look forward to seeing the plans come forward to whatever is going to be developed there.
Yeah, and what we're doing here today too is we're changing the bylaw. Right now, they could already put 2 units on there, as Councillor Idris said, with the secondary suite. And what they possibly could do with the change here is put almost like a townhouse, right? Is that, what I'm looking at, right? Or 4 separate units with secondary suites, right?
Yeah, just for clarification through the chair to Mayor Petrie, a subdivision would be necessary to do that with the single detached housing. So one step in between would be to approve the subdivision and then go forward with the individual housing and the secondary suites. Or in the alternate realm, you could do duplexes. Now, duplexes could be processed 2 on one lot as a rental situation. So.
Yeah, and then just to address parking, and then I know we got this Councillor Prentice and Councillor Goodenough on that, but those issues would come up at MPC then concerning parking, and if the developer never had the right amount of parking, they could turn down the development. Right there, Councillor Prentice and Councillor Goodenough? I don't know if you want to weigh in on this, Councillor Prentice there.
Can't hear you, Bill.
Can't hear you, Bill. I'll wait a second here. Maybe Councillor Goodenough can answer my question on that there in reference to, I know you're an MPC there, and just with parking. If the developer didn't fulfill the right requirements for parking, it could be turned down at MPC then, right?
That's correct. Yeah, we would request what would we request? An exception, or they could request it, we can deny it. A variance.
A variance, yeah.
And then we could accept it or deny it.
Yeah, just, and there was a comment during the public hearing about, and I don't know what the property looks like, but I think if it was developed, I think it would look after any of the aesthetics around that area there. That's personally what I think the homeowner would. So, okay, Councillor Wardrope.
Just hearing everything, I think, in my opinion, it sounds like there are adequate options for a developer to take as is. Like, our bylaw does allow for quite a bit already, without changing the zoning here, which would just allow for anything, right, that's within our bylaw. And that could be, I mean, the intention right now could be stated for nice, right, like small row houses that would look, like they would fit in nicely. However, medium density under our new land use bylaw allows for up to eight dwelling units. That could look pretty different. I think, yeah, the way that it is now, there's still options to have duplexes, multiple units they could subdivide. There's lots of different things they could do while still sticking with the kind of character of the neighborhood. I do, yeah, I think there's a lot of options that a developer could still take while still developing, like encouraging developing, but not opening up the neighborhood to unwanted changes that way that we wouldn't have control over, right, as the council.
Yeah, am I unmuted now, Don?
That was very close to my points, and I think we need to go back and as Gavin said multiple times, think about what we are deciding today. What we are deciding today is, are we okay with everything in the medium density acceptable options or acceptable, what do we call them, permitted uses in this location. Everything on that list, and that list is very long.
So you're not agreeing with this then?
If you do.
I'm saying that is what we need to think. Like, I have
no,
my decision.
yeah.
I have my opinion, but basically, I think I'm asking all council to think about everything on that list. If we said yes to this change, we are saying to everything on that list, yes.
Okay, Councillor Prentice, I think you can speak now.
Am I muted now or not? Hello? No, I'm not muted. I don't know what's wrong here. Oops. I can't. Oops, I've lost everything.
Yeah, of course, because you're banging in.
Oh, okay, yeah, you can go ahead there, Bill, or...
Can you hear me now?
No.
No, I can't. I can't get through.
Yeah, we can actually hear you, Bill.
Oh, can you? Okay, so what was your question again to me?
Oh, no, I made a reference to MPC because I know you sit on MPC with Councillor Goodenough there. And I was saying if there was issues with parking, those would be addressed at MPC.
Yeah, well, we addressed that with all of them. So it wouldn't matter what the application was. The addressment of the parking is number one on any one of them. So that would look after that as well. So with no problem.
Okay, good. Thank you there. Yeah, okay. Any other questions on this one, Councillor Jessica?
Well, not really a question, but I just noticed several of the speakers spoke about the traffic situation along that street and its relationship to this development, but it sounds like there may be a problem there in any case, and which might help mitigate some of the problems that would come with this development. So maybe we should have bylaw do some traffic counts and some monitoring of that street, and if there is a major issue, it has become a shortcut. There might be something we can do to mitigate that, such as a speed zone or something.
Yeah, and I don't know if that should, I know what you're saying there. Do we address it at this time? But I think it is a concern that if there is a problem with speeding along there, or if they're using it, and we can't prevent people from taking shortcuts in the community. That's impossible to do, but if there is traffic speeding through the area, our bylaw officers, our community police officers could address that there too, on that there too. Okay, any other questions on this one? It's one of the ones, I know these are always tough ones there too, but I know we always talk about, development and the need for attainable housing in the community here. So when a project like this comes up there, I always, feel this is important to help kind of meet our goals of attainable housing on that. So that's my thought on that there. Councillor Goodenough and then Councillor Jessica.
So it's a question for Councillor Dries, like you, and maybe for Gavin too, is you made the comment, if we approve this, then we're approving everything. But I'm just curious, what's everything? Like I'm looking at medium density, there's only really a few things that can go in there. So I don't understand where that comment, and I don't mean, I'm just curious.
Yeah, well, could you put a 4-story apartment building there? I think is what basically. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, I don't know if yeah. Yeah, just wait, hey. Yeah. Okay. Turn it off there.
I'm trying. They won't shut off.
Paying attention to the meeting.
Yeah. Okay, go ahead, Gavin. Yeah.
Sorry. Through the chair to Mayor Goodenough, the question being, if this zoning was accepted this evening, you still have the separation between permitted and discretionary uses. Absolutely, should you go forward this evening, the permitted uses are a permit and right. Everything on that list, from up to 4-unit maximum apartments, attached housing up to 4 units, day home duplex, home occupations, secondary suites, and single detached, all on that permitted side. On the discretionary side, there is still process. You must circulate to the neighbors. The neighbors would have another say at this process. They would be able to comment on a request, say, for parking waiver and indicate the points that they made this evening. More discussion could happen around how it's accessed. All of that would be disclosed with a site plan. In that list, you have apartments and attached housing up to 8 units, bed and breakfast, cluster housing, daycare, government public services, group care facility, home occupation 3, modular home, moved-in dwellings, multi-unit residential up to 8 units, and multi-unit dwellings up to 8 units. So all on that side of the ledger, all of that has to go through the MPC for the processes and consideration. And just to reiterate, a circulation to the neighbors regarding those issues.
Okay, Councilor Goodenough.
So I guess my comment to that is, we have our parameters in a permitted use, which fit the category of what it sounds like the landowner wants. I don't think we have to worry about a mobile park going there. We don't have to worry, like, so some of the, I think there could be some fear of not knowing, because obviously it is nice to see what the design's going to look like, but as Gavin has said in the past, it's not even legal binding if someone is to show us a rendering of what they per se want. It could change at any time. So, okay, that's my comments.
Okay, any last comments there before I call the question there? Okay. Now, if this is defeated, we don't go on to number 3 here too. Okay. Moved by Councillor Wardrop that bylaw number 2508 be read a second time. All those in, or be, no, I got, that's the motion there, and then we debate it after the second, yeah. Yeah, okay. All those in favor? Just wait, I want to do a count on that bit. Yeah, we got 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, those against? And, okay, 3 against, so it is carried. Okay, need a mover for this motion here. Councillor, I'll put, good enough there. Okay, that bylaw 2508 being a bylaw of the City of Brooks in the province of Alberta to amend bylaw number 1412 being a land use bylaw be read a third time and adopted. We debate on this. So all those in favor of the motion on that one? 1, 2, 3. Bill is for. Those against? 1, 2, 3. Carried. It's carried. Okay. Where are we at here now? Okay. Need a mover for the next motion here. That bylaw 2505 being a bylaw of the City of Brooks in the province of Alberta to provide for short-term borrowing deemed necessary for the purpose of financing the operating expenditures of the municipality be introduced and read a first time. Director Finance, McKinnon. Oh, I need a mover for that motion there for the, okay, Councillor Goodenough, okay. Go ahead.
Through your worship, bylaw 2505 is, as the mayor has indicated, a bylaw to authorize potential short-term borrowing up to $2 million. This is the standard borrowing, short-term borrowing resolution that council's had in place for a number of years. There's been no borrowing against that line of credit, if you want to look at it that way, but it's good financial practice to make sure it's in place. Currently, the city has over approximately $20 million invested in available in cash or short-term cash. So it's highly unlikely that we'll be using that line of credit. But again, it's a nice blanket in case we need to borrow for any purpose.
Okay, any questions? Okay, to the motion, all those in favor? Carried. Moved by Councillor Juska that bylaw number 2505 be read a second time. All those in favor? Carried. Moved by Councillor Nesbitt that bylaw 2505 be given 3 readings at this meeting, has to be carried unanimously. All those in favor? All carried unanimously. Moved by Councillor Idris that bylaw 2505 being a bylaw of the City of Brooks in the province of Alberta to provide for a short-term borrowing deemed necessary for the purpose of financing the operating expenditures of the municipality be read a third time and adopted. All those in favor? Carried. Need a mover for this motion here that bylaw 2506 being a bylaw of the City of Brooks in the province of Alberta to provide the short-term borrowing deemed necessary for the purpose of financing the operating expenditures of the municipality be introduced and read a first time. Is that right here?
Yep, that's right.
Yep. Okay. I need a mover for that motion. Councillor Juska. And that's right. Okay. All those in favor? Okay, need a mover for this motion here that bylaw 2506 be read a second time. Councillor Goodenough. All those in favor? Carried. Moved by Councillor Wardrop that bylaw 2506 be given 3 readings at this meeting, has to be carried unanimously. All those in favor? Carried. Moved by Councillor Jessica, that bylaw 2506 being a bylaw of the City of Brooks in the province of Alberta to provide for short-term borrowing deemed necessary for the purpose of financing the operating expenditures of the municipality be read a third time and adopted. All those in favor? Carried. Okay, need a motion here, moved by Councillor Idris, that council close the meeting to the public for agenda item 11A, land matter, as per section 16 FOIP, and 11B, personnel, as per section 17 FOIP, at 6:11 p.m. All those in favor? Carried.